and welcome our panelists, and thank you for joining me today. So you're going to be helping me a lot in making this discussion very fruitful and open as much as we can. So the dynamics of real estate in North Africa comes in very challenging times. We just after post-COVID-19, with the new Russian-Ukrainian conflict, with the high oil prices, everything has increased with new policy changing in Egypt and the raise of the dollar. And so we have so much dynamics going on. I think this is what we would like to discuss more in detail. So the three angles of our panel today will mainly focus on the changing climate of client expectations. And this is extremely important because in the end, who do we serve? Who's our main target? It's the client. And what is our client expectations with the dynamics going on within our region? International influence on North African's real estate industry and the post-pandemic effects in the real estate business. So let me start, knowing that we only have 1 hour for this panel, and I have so many questions that I would like to share with you. Mr. Abdallah, let me start with you. And when we talk about the changing climate of client expectations, and with the recent monetary policy and the recent devaluation, how do you predict the behavior of future clients and meet their expectations? So we're going to have to pass the mic to each other. Thank you very much.
First of all, thank you for inviting me. It's a pleasure and an honor to be here. I'd like to start by thanking His Excellency Mr. Khaled Abbas for sharing all the information he did, and on behalf of the whole government, all the efforts that are ongoing in both the real estate scene in Egypt and the whole economic scene in general. And Egypt, it's really a time of dynamics. I always say I studied as a student back in university mechanical engineering, which is basically the science of moving parts, and all the stuff, which is all about dynamics. We had courses named dynamics, but I never knew that it would serve me that well in working in the Egyptian economy, because the Egyptian economy specifically dynamic doesn't serve it well. This is not enough to serve what goes on in the Egyptian economy all the time. And speaking of the challenges you just mentioned, whether the new monetary policy is, of course, like Mr. Khaled has mentioned, the post-pandemic and the after effects that we're all living today. So it's really quite a challenging time to be. But I always say that's the nature of the market again in our region. Like Mr. Khaled has mentioned, the staggering number that we all know about the size of the Egyptian population and the growth rates of the Egyptian population, and as challenging as it is, I always say that this is our biggest asset. This is the biggest thing that every other economy envies us for, and this is why all international markets have their eyes on Egypt. I always make fun. I used to live in Canada for a short while, and I used to make fun with my Canadian friends and tell them that we give birth to Canada every 10 years. And Canada is a huge economy. It's one of the biggest 10 economies in the world, and we give birth to that economy every 10 years. So it's quite, as Mr. Khaled said, it's quite a challenge, but at the end, I'm sure we're going to make the best use of it. Egypt is a very resourceful country. Again, there are some fun facts about Egypt. We're the most square country in the world, where we have plenty of land, but it's unutilized yet. I once did this funny analogy of statistics. Egypt doesn't have a density problem. It's just that we're all centered in a small piece of the land. But if you spread Egyptians over the whole Egyptian land, which is mostly possible to urbanize, we don't have a density problem. I actually did this analogy. If one of the highest population densities in the world is Singapore. If Egypt would have had the same population density of Singapore, Egyptian land can host up to 12 billion people, so twice the people living on Earth on Egyptian land with the Singapore population. So we have plenty to build and grow. So, but again, back to the main question, monetary policies. I always say this is a healthy part of the dynamics of the economy, the changing monetary policies. If you remember in one of the discussions we had before the summit, I say that the challenge is not in the monetary policies itself, it's how you react to them and how you accommodate. Speaking of real estate specifically, again, the recent monetary policies, which is a devaluation of the Egyptian pound and some hiking in interest rates, which by logic will affect retail prices or consumer prices at the end of the day. And this is what everyone is worried about, and we've seen in the past week a rush of people trying to buy everything, actually, not just real estate. I'm involved in a couple of other industries too, so we've seen hikes in people rushing to buy stuff, scared of the price hikes that are expected, which some of them have been effective already. But I always say again, speaking of real estate, that's not the issue. The affordability is the issue. How much the per capita income is the issue. How to transfer funds to the hands of the people. So the demand is here. Again, like Mr. Khaled Abbas mentioned, the demand is here. The demand is huge. The 100 million population, the 1 million new marriages every year. Unfortunately, it adds to the market, but there are 400,000 divorces every year, which adds to the market rather than takes from it. So we have some quite interesting statistics in Egypt that prove that the demand is here. I always say that's the biggest challenge of any market, is creating the demand. In Egypt, it's here by default. Like if we compare with other more mature markets, even in the region, when I compare to the UAE or something, they're much more organized. They have a better, sometimes an even clearer vision of the master plan of the urban development. The financial sector is in a better position. Interest rates are low, so mortgages in reaction. So they have so many metrics of the market at hand, but they lack the demand. They have to import the demand. In Egypt, it's the other way around. We're still lacking some regulations and policies, and the financial institutions doing their homework, and interest rate dropping. Unfortunately, it's been hiking because of what's going on around the world. But again, if it starts going down again, we're going to see much healthy products or instruments for mortgage and consumer financing. So again, it's an issue of affordability, not demand. So this should make us all at least not worry that the market is going to stagnate or something. The demand is there. So there are so many things to do to react to the monetary policies. I'm sure all developers have been having emergency meetings in the past week, everyone to review what they're going to do, not just prices, but product offering and payment plans and collaborations with financial institutions and contractors and suppliers of raw materials and all that stuff. But again, I'm very optimistic that we're going to pass this just like we did even more extreme conditions. And, again, I'm optimistic about the size of the market, the dynamics of the market, and where it's going. I hope I answered the question. I know I've branched into some other stuff.
Actually, you answered more than the question. Now I don't know what I'm going to ask you next. So thank you for that. But also, just to continue on what you were saying and repeating His Excellency Engineer Khaled's words in the past events, how many developers do we have, Engineer Khaled, right now just in the new capital? I think over 300 developers, almost. We have so many developers just in the new capital city, and I think one of the important roles that developers in Egypt should be playing in the dynamics of North Africa and Egypt being a very competitive market in the North African region is supporting or working in cooperation with the government in actually not just promoting your projects, but actually also promoting Egypt as a destination with all the changes that's happening. We see lots of government efforts happening that side, but I think the developers also should be playing a very vital role in promoting that if we really want to have more investments from a higher perspective also, and from a very small perspective. Let me go to Mr. Mohamed Taher and ask you, with the change in the new prices, how do you see the real estate mitigate the rising cost? And are we expecting a change in cost or in prices of real estate next week?
It's already done. First, I would like to thank GDP for this event. It's very nice to have this group of diversified professionals. I see a lot of new faces, so I'm very glad to have this talk with the dynamics of the market happening now in Egypt. I think it's very interesting. And thank Engineer Khaled for his input earlier about the efforts that really the government is doing right now. And as one working closely with the government, being Saudi Arabia, Saudi Egyptian developers is 50% owned by the Ministry of Housing. I can say they are doing a great effort, a magnificent effort, and in the last 4 years, the amount of development that's happening is enormous. And I think also this helps them to be able to understand more about the market and touch base with what's really happening in terms of clients and their needs and the people on the ground, not only B2B, but now becoming B2C has a good side of having this close interaction with the clients and the people buying these products. Definitely what happened was, there was two waves. The first wave was already the increase in the steel and the construction cost, which happened like 1 month ago. And then the devaluation that happened shortly a week ago. So it's a strong hit to all the real estate developers. I don't think anybody is now happy being the CEO of any company having already off-plan sales and trying to mitigate this. And whatever numbers we were celebrating in terms of sales last year is turned quickly into a major challenge and a block to move in front of us. There are a lot of things that can help on this thing, mainly because the dynamics of the real estate is usually slower than any other industry. It takes 4 to 5 years, minimum 3 years to deliver a product. So we understand there is always cycles in the real estate. There is always cycles, ups and downs in terms of pricing, demand, and cost. So it's not something new to the real estate sector to absorb this kind of shocks. But maybe because there is a much more challenge when it comes to the market now, I think the clients is becoming much more educated in terms, or let me say, they want their product as delivered in terms of timing and quality. So in the previous times, people usually got into a late stage delivering the products 2 years late or 3 years just to try to sell this kind of stores. But I think this will be a challenge in this current days. One of the things also, you need to understand that the real estate sector, we are now forced between having locked prices with the clients and the previous clients that bought, and then we have financing cost increase by means of the CBE increasing the interest rate, and the cost is already increasing as we speak. So it still didn't reach stability yet. So still it's very early to say what actually will be the mitigation plans happening. I think most of the developers should or will increase the prices by at least 10 to 12% in this month or the next month, just to absorb this shock. The good thing is the market has a lot of demand. I think a lot of people, if they Google now the GDP of, the balance of payment and find what is the sources of foreign currency coming to Egypt, you'll find that Egyptians abroad have increased dramatically, and I can only say this happened due to the surge in real estate sector in Egypt. This is the only thing I can see happening, and there is a correlation between what's happening in the new capital and Alamein and the new cities, and the increase of funds coming from Egyptians abroad to Egypt. So actually, it helped a lot in increasing the funds coming from Egyptians. So I think this will continue more because now with the devaluation they will be encouraged to buy more. This might help in the next stage, at least on the short term, just to cover this. Because the challenge now, when you increase the prices, you will have a slowdown in sales. So it's not the magical switch that you want to press. It's actually not a very nice decision to take to increase your prices 10% overnight or more. So what we'll see is maybe it will help with the Egyptian abroad just to sale around this store. And I had a friend always told me, a mentor one day, if you have a storm, don't try to park your ship. Just sail the storm, and then when the storm ease, go into the harbor. So this is now what the stage we're trying to do. Just sail the ship, make it float, make it survive with least problems, and then when things get clear, when everything started to settle, it will be much more clear to take more logical or good decisions. So yeah, I've answered you, but it's a very challenging times to have clear answers and magic sticks to get it.
I understand. I think all of us are still not uncertain of what actually the short-term expectations of the overall market, not just the real estate market. I mean, everywhere in the world, what's going to happen. So I totally understand. But now we see every day there's a new developer in the market that we do not know. So with these challenges, what would you advise the customer when he is looking into investing into real estate with the increase in high prices? What are we looking at? Should we be looking at developer credibility, history, construction updates, prices? Because all projects are nice. All projects look really nice. All projects have prime locations in different areas. So it's becoming very challenging for the end investor to actually know where to invest his capital in the real estate market, especially during these times. And as you said, the demand is high. So I don't think with the current crisis, the real estate purchase power will actually decrease. Actually, it might decrease, but I don't think the decrease will go lower than what we might be expecting, especially in the coming 3-4 months. And we know that the peak of real estate always happens after Ramadan until August, September, and that's where everybody will be entering us. So what do you think, guys?
So you need my advice on...
I need your advice. Tell me, should I buy real estate now or not? Because I was actually wanted to buy.
It really depends. I think it was always good to buy real estate at any certain time. This is part of our culture. This is where Egyptians invest since pharaohs. So this is the strong point in this market, is that it comes with our DNA, that we have to own a plot, land, an apartment, whatever, but it's in our DNA. And this is what makes this market so strong and unique among any other market. That's one. So you have always a demand. Second, you cannot really deny the newcomers to the market and you don't have a finished good yet, that you don't advise people to buy in their projects, because it will be unfair. And sometimes, I mean, this is the cycle that we see every 10 years. Real estate gets very attractive to everyone on the 6th year. So everyone comes in and try to invest in real estate rather than the original developers. So you have 300 newcomers in the new capital alone. Some of them will fail, some of them will succeed. And this is how it goes every 10 years. If one single advice I would give you, look at the developer who has a very strong community management, facility management, after sale service, and how his project is run and managed, because this is where the wealth will continue. Everyone builds the same, by the way. We all build, we use the same materials, we have all nice designs. It's a matter of taste, so there's no bad or good design. But I think the key is post-handling and post-delivery, and what you should do, and how are you better than any other developer in pampering your client. That's my advice.
Thank you, Yasser, for that. And as you did say, yes, real estate purchase in Egypt is part of the DNA. So you can't go and ask to get married without having a house. It doesn't work. لازم لما نتقدم يبقى معانا الشقة. It doesn't mean we have to. So definitely that comes part of our DNA. Hisham, welcome on board. Thank you for joining us. No, we totally understand.
Apologies for the delay.
No, we totally understand. So we were talking before you came about the dynamics and with the change of prices and with the conflict and how that would react to the client expectations and the client behavior in the coming period. What are your thoughts on that?
I think this is a buyer's market at the moment due to the fact that the competition is going to increase between the developers, and the beneficiary is going predominantly be the end user because of the fact that developers will have to potentially, as Gasser said, provide added value to their products. It's not just about price competition, it's about quality, it's about different aspects that entice the end user to choose a certain developer over the other. So adding the value is very important because adding value to the product is what is going to differentiate one developer from the other. I think as you probably covered, the price increases is a fact that we all have to live with, and it is gradually going to sink in. As I said, this is the buyer's market, whether expat or local, and we have seen a couple of launches after the current valuations almost sold out. So the appetite is there, and people will continue to utilize their purchasing power into real estate because it is a much better proposition than money in the bank, which will be impacted by the inflation and other aspects. Whilst real estate in general, whether it's residential or commercial or otherwise, maintains and increases in value over time. So I believe that the customer will benefit from the current competition that's going to increase between the developers, and eventually they will have to make an educated choice which one based on different criteria, including the added value aspects that Yasser covered, and I'm sure others. So I believe we have to understand that the market dynamics, Egyptian market dynamics are strong, and they are strong because of solid grounds that have been established over years. And it's always going to grow in some way or another, despite we have been there already in 2016, and we have seen this crisis happening before, and it was mitigated, and we rebounded. So I believe, again, this is a good time to invest in real estate, and it has been evident a couple of launches, including our own. The demand is not dwelling. People who are well educated and understand the real estate and investment market properly understand that this is the time to actually go for it 100%.
Yes, please.
About this price increase mania that happened a few days ago. I mean, I have a different view. I didn't increase the prices.
You didn't?
No. I stayed very calm. It's too soon to decide on increasing. We know that the dollar will go up a year ago. We all knew that it was controlled and it had to float someday. The increase in raw materials, yes, we understand that. But taking a decision right now to increase prices, that's at least my view, is too soon. It has been a week, maybe. And it, by the way, the dollar, I don't know, it's down 10 piastres or something like that. So it's really not the time. I'll wait for a month to decide what to do. Because everyone is talking about price increase. I actually did, for a slow mover, I did a discount and I sold. So maybe this is the time when you grab market share, when you seize the opportunity. That's it.
I'll call you after this panel. Maybe I'll buy a Madaar then, since you're the only one who did not increase prices yet.
It's actually, Mohamed, I just like I said, it's not just one rule of it depends on the situation of each developer and the product mix within each developer. So as you said, the ready-to-move product we have at Madinet Nasr, we have some ready-to-move products already built, already the construction cost is not an issue, you don't have a risk with that. Then there is no need to increase the price. Off-plan sales is the challenge, like Mohamed said, in stocking is the biggest challenge because you're fixing the price for a payment plan that's sometimes over 10 years and more now, and you still don't know where the construction cost will stabilize, what the variations will be. So it depends on the product, the developer situation, whether it's a launch, it's an old product, it's a slow mover, it's in the new capital where the pace is maybe faster because of the regulations of when you have to deliver and all that stuff. So the delivery time is sometimes shorter, which affects the financing cost and all that stuff. Or whether you're in a government, a new city, a new. So it's not one rule again. It's a tricky time to, just Mohamed said, to give a clear answer of what's the right thing to do. But again, just like Hisham said, it's a buyer's market definitely. It's an opportunity. We've seen the rush already in the past week. So we'll wait and see how this really settles. It's quite tricky.
So Mohamed, do you think that these calls would affect or delay the planned new launches in the coming period until the market has a clear understanding of what the prices or cost looks like?
No, I don't think so. Yani, we have a launch coming very soon, and we didn't take any decision to postpone the launch due to what's happening. We're just doing our exercises, updating the post as we go. The challenge that we have is understanding how long it's going to take. And this is a tricky thing. But given the current situation, I don't think that it will be. It will not hold because you have a lot of dynamics of the real estate. It's a moving. It's a big truck. It's a huge truck moving, and you just can't pull the switch and stop it. It's not. It's like like the steel firms. You cannot shut down overnight. So you cannot just stop. You have already contracts going on. So your dynamic is moving. You cannot just stop. And I can say that this is, yes, I agree with Hisham. This is a buyer market. And I can assume that there is a very few investors or hot money currently in the market. Also, real estate has this analogy of hot money. Investors trying to buy in the first launch and then selling the reservation. Most of the clients that we have now are end users. So this is a good time for them, and they feel this is a good time to buy because they have a long-term plan, and actually they're going to use this unit for themselves or maybe rent it in the future. So this helps also. You don't have hot money moving out and trying to buy into investment certificates. We don't see this happen in the last few days. Still, sales is doing good and very well. So it just means that this is not an investment market, more for hot money. It's more of end users. So we'll keep our launches because as long as there is real demand, I cannot stop my launches. But just try to be dynamic in terms of my pricing and my installment plans and all of this.
Great. So let me go to another. We talked about the client behavior and expectations, and now let's talk about the international influence on the North African estate market, which is very important. And I would like each one of you actually in two statements to just describe Egypt as a market compared to other North African markets. How would you position Egypt? Abdallah.
Not because again we're Egyptians speaking here, and of course we might be a little bit biased, but again Egypt is definitely the leading market in North Africa for so many reasons, whether political stability compared to some of the neighboring, not all of them, again size of the market, all the changes that are going on. We're building some 32 new cities or something. This is unheard of and unprecedented in not only the region, some maybe in the world. So the the real estate scene in Egypt today is something that doesn't happen not every decade, but even every century or something like that. If I'm not exaggerating, you will agree with me. So definitely, Egypt is in the leadership position when compared to the rest of North Africa. And I think I will not be exaggerating if I say that maybe in the near future we'll see Egypt developers expanding in North Africa. Again, the reconstruction that's expected in Libya and neighboring, maybe even Algeria, not for reconstruction purposes, but it's a big market over there and underserved. And Egyptians have a lot of representation over there with multinational firms and stuff like that. And the Egyptian product and mentality is well appreciated over there. So I think it's not just that Egypt is the leading market in North Africa, it might also influence the rest of North Africa. This is my 2 cents.
Thank you, Abdallah. Mohamed, we're also trying to focus here on our visitors that are looking to invest in the real estate market, not as a residential buyer, but actually as a player in the market.
Yes. Actually, this is what the question brought to my mind. So it depends on the audience. This question will always depend on the audience. So if you're talking with suppliers, designers, architects, hardware suppliers, I think this is a very strong market in all over Middle East, probably even Europe in terms of demand. For North Africa and Middle East, we see now Dubai is becoming very saturated. It's shifting into the economy of Switzerland. Switzerland, which is everything happened. We're just trying to put the cherry on the top, so there is nothing big happening. And they've reached the point already where it's fully matured in terms of development. But in Egypt, we still have, in terms of Ahmed was saying, it's a kind of vast land that we have. So between us and KSA, Saudi KSA, it's going to be a very nice land for opportunities for architects, designers, suppliers, contractors, all of this. Compared definitely to the rest of North Africa, I think Libya might come in the next 10 years. But in terms of public demand or domestic demand, we are number one by far. We are number one in terms of population, ideology. We love to buy real estate. We always invest in real estate. We have a population that increased by 2 million, which if Canada in 10 years is like Finland in 2 years. And actually, this is why I don't know why people compare education in Finland to Egypt. I mean, it's completely unfair. But this is off topic in terms of what we're saying. But again, in terms of expats buying, now it's a challenging market to say we are easy to buy in terms of expats. Maybe our fellow GCC can buy in Egypt. They are used to the Egyptian market and the installment plans by the developer and all of this. But foreigners or Europeans, it's a challenge to understand this kind of market to buy in.
Yeah, that comes to that's another topic we'll talk about after this one, but the real estate export, I think there are lots of dynamics in exporting real estate that we need to discuss. Guesser, your point of view.
Well, based on my experience, I've been to Oman, Iraq, Turkey, Dubai, and I did projects in all of these countries. And talking about, this is the MENA region even, to Turkey. And going to the North Africa, which is Tunisia, Algeria, and Morocco. I tried to Google these markets before I attend, and I couldn't find anything to Google actually. And this is an indication how big is this market. If you talk about what? Turkey, it's collapsing. Oman doesn't really have a solid real estate market. It's peanuts. Compared to this country, you're huge, and definitely not being an Egyptian as well, as Abdallah said. We're far behind or advanced than everyone in terms of size, quality of development, and I think we're in a different league in the MENA region.
Thank you, guys. Hisham?
I reiterate what my colleagues have previously stated. Egypt is ranked #1 in Africa in terms of attracting investment, and our real estate market is the best yielding in the overall region. We have seen recently acquisitions by Gulf real estate developers, increased interest in the real estate market in Egypt in general, despite some blips in Morocco and elsewhere where there is also interest in real estate, and with the increase of price of oil, definitely there will be more coming in those areas. But again, Egypt has proven with its resilient economy that it's really a magnet for foreign investment as well as interest specifically in the real estate sector. We have seen that in the new capital and elsewhere. However, again, as we speak, funds and investment entities would be on the lookout for generating, asset yielding assets, basically revenue generating assets. And this is, for instance, I'm sure Taher will share with me, this is our specialty. When we speak about commercial, when we speak about administrative, these are the types of assets that might flourish in the coming period, basically because of the interest in those specific assets. So yes, we have a very resilient economy, and this reflects positively on the interest that we see from different entities in the Egyptian real estate market.
One thing I should add, when someone, I think Abdallah said that Egyptian will invest outside of Egypt in the near future. We started this, we invested in Zanzibar outside as a group. We have hotels in Zanzibar now developing. We're investing in Senegal. So when you're really comfortable in your home market, you can actually grow outside. So we already acquired properties there, and we're going to Morocco, and it's becoming bigger. And I think this is the next step for the developers in Egypt, to grow in the MENA or in Africa in general.
Thank you very much. And just commenting on Hisham's point of view, I think I think one of the most important aspects that we do need to do is attract capital funds here in Egypt, especially in the commercial, retail, maybe service apartments too. I think this is what they're looking for. New cities is a good destination for attracting these capital funds. And I agree with also Gesser that, well, you searched online and you didn't find anything related to these countries, but did we find anything related to Egypt too? So, and after the post-pandemic, the behavior of everyone has changed. The digital transformation is going to be playing a vital role, is already playing a vital role in every sector and in every person at home. Until now, and I think after COVID, lots of companies are decided that they will move their business virtually in so many aspects. So I think the industry's presence online from an investment perspective is extremely important as a country, more than actually just introducing projects that we have. And that's something I think lots of countries in North Africa do miss in general. And that takes me to another point of post-pandemic effects on the real estate business. That's my last part of today's panel, and I have two questions on that. Sustainable living. How does this idea modernize the real estate product and change consumers' behavior, the behavior's main driver of the market? Abdallah, what do you think?
I love talking about sustainability because I always claim that it's not always understood in its whole sense. Usually when we talk about sustainability, what comes to mind is green homes and the environment and installing some solar panels over the roofs and all that stuff. And yes, solar panels is always what comes to mind when you talk about sustainability, but then this is just one aspect of sustainability, and sustainability tackles the environmental part, which is concerned with clean energy, renewable energy in general, and energy consumption and all that stuff. But then there is always the the economic factor of sustainability, and the most important one that I always like to talk about is the social aspect of sustainability. I was asked in one of the projects that we were building, we had this parcel that was only villas, and then there is another parcel that was apartments and all stuff. And one of the people who were buying one of the biggest villas in the community, and he asked me, why didn't you make the whole compound just standalone villas? I mean, he prefers that. He wants everyone around him to be the same social class, if I may state it this way. And then I told him for sustainability, and then he was, what does this has to do with sustainability? I told him social sustainability. And I was given an example about Heliopolis, Nasr. Nasr is a beautiful neighborhood, and a beautiful neighborhood of Cairo. Everyone has a story and a piece of his heart in Heliopolis, somewhat regardless of where you're up from. But again, it's a bad example. I don't blame the founders of Heliopolis for it, but it's a bad example of social sustainability because it was initially planned to be just villas and small houses. But then with generations down the road, and this is what sustainability tackles. When I was designing one of our projects with master planners and architects from abroad, one of the first questions they asked me, where do you see this community in 50 years? Which is something we rarely think about in this part of the world. This is sustainability, social sustainability. Taking back to the Heliopolis example, nowadays after 100 years of the city being built, the family that used to own a villa that used to accommodate a family of a father, a mother, and 2 kids is now 3-4 generations down the road, and it's this same property is owned by like 7 families and like 100 people, and they want some economic return out of this property, or just even to use it. So they can't either use it as all this number of people, or they can't get enough return from it, so they demolish it and come up with an apartment building of 11 stories or something to either sell it and get the economic return out of it, or use it for them actually. So again, social sustainability is what we should be looking at more than anything else. The green part and the environment part is coming anyways, whether we like it or not. I mean, it's serious, we're seeing it. I mean, winter is not over in Egypt, and so global warming is a serious issue. We're seeing the effects of it already. This is coming anyways. People will do it for different reasons now. There are subsidies and bank grants for being green and sustainable in the environmental sense. So people are doing, either they're going to do it for these benefits, they're going to do it because they see the future and they appreciate offering that, or the customers are going to be more aware and more educated about environmental needs. Just like the movement that's going on with electric cars and stuff like that. So some things are going to be pushed on us and going to happen anyway, the environmental part. But again, I keep preaching, and that's why I like talking about that. We need to look at the other aspects of sustainability, mostly social sustainability, which was actually very healthy in the older part of town in Egypt. You would see a mix of products, and you would see the apartment building like in downtown in Egypt, where there's a small retail shop on the ground floor, and then some offices for accountants and lawyers on the first, second floor, and then people living in the rest of the apartment building. And then again, this is what ensures sustainability, social security, safety, and all that stuff.
Thank you, Abdallah. Mohamed, Hisham, please feel free to also comment. But you said a very important part, which is we have social sustainability and we have the other factors of sustainability. And now, today I'm wearing my hat as real estate, but I also have another hat, which is oil and gas, for almost 15 years. And energy transition is not anymore a talk that we talk. It's something that has to happen with the current crisis and the prices of oil. Energy efficiency is a must. It's not a luxury anymore. It's a must. So how does the real estate industry mitigate the concept of energy efficiency, of social sustainability, not just from the point that it is a luxury option, which it should not be, because the economics in the future says that it's a beneficial aspect for everyone, from the developer, from a cost perspective, and also from the buyer. Because if we keep it as a luxury, we're going to have another crisis somewhere else. So, what do you think, Mohamed?
I think you pinpoint a very interesting point on this subject. And let me just start quickly by saying that one of the things that I learned post the COVID-19 is it's not about what will happen? It's what's the next crisis that will happen? And everybody's saying it's going to be the global warming. And two things here to note about. COVID started with someone in China eating something strange, and we are all paying the price. We got screwed all in terms of, let's put it like this way, because this is actually what happened. So there is no more, it's happening there, it's not happening here. This is, any sane person shouldn't ever say this terms again. It's not happening here. The other thing, between ice and water is just 1 degree. Just 1 degree. So global warming is not that far away. Just one increase of 1 degree Celsius to melt mountains of ice. When this will happen, we have to think seriously about pushing this. And I think it should come on a level of governments and their facilitation doing this. I don't think clients will see it now. I don't think clients are required to ask for it now. It's just like cars when they used to have rolling the windscreen, and now they are used to having the buttons. So you educate the market that this is the norm to have an AC in the car. This didn't have to be, or automatic transmission. It didn't used to be there 20 years ago. But you educate them by offering this product on the market, and they started to get educated, get much more sophisticated, and asking for this as a minimum standard. So it's on the burden of the developers, and definitely the government giving facilitation and encouraging real estate to build their buildings in terms of green and sustainable. And I think this is comes in terms of customs, comes in terms of special loans, helping not only real estate developers but also suppliers that has this kind of product to present quickly in the market in terms of having quickly branches not paying a certain kind of taxes and customs. And then this will encourage us more to accommodate this in our products. This is, I can quickly put it like this one.
Thank you, Mohamed. Guess when you're going to comment, of course, we said that also Egypt is organizing this year COP27. And one of the government's new announcements in the previous maybe month was that Sharm el-Sheikh is going to be a green, sustainable city. So everything in Sharm el-Sheikh is going to be socially sustainable, it's going to be energy efficient from all aspects, which definitely a huge part of it is real estate. So is that the beginning of a trend that we as Egypt in the real estate market we can build on other aspects?
I really don't know. I don't really understand the green thing quite well. But when I talk to my designers, they say, oh, we're green and we're energy efficient and all of that. I don't believe that we will be in maybe 10 years. We're not ready yet, the market is not ready yet. So if you start thinking about it now, we're going to deliver it in 7 years from now. Putting a solar panel on the roof is not green. But if you're going to talk the whole package, you cannot do it right now. You will not do it right now. You have to be honest and realistic about this. How far can we go? Yeah, we can go 2, 3, 4 steps out of 10. But I don't believe it will be soon, at least in my position.
Why not think about putting this kind of provisions in our designs? So when they are ready, we can accommodate this with a minimal cost. So we do the provisions in terms of MEP and designs and everything, just to make sure that when this comes at an economic cost, we are ready with the least interruption in terms of the building structure and everything.
I like the dynamic discussion. This is the dynamics of real estate in North Africa, so we have to have dynamic discussion.
If I may add, sustainability is the new way of life. It covers much more than just the green certification that we may aspire for as real estate developers for our products. has a much broader repercussion, and therefore I believe Egypt hosting the COP27 gives a clear indication that there is a strong drive, governmental drive, for this to be the new trend, and the green economy, switching to the green economy, and all the aspects related to that, ESG and otherwise. So it is going to be the new trend, and eventually, as Gasser said, maybe it will take some time for us to be able to implement it, the full spectrum. But we should all start adapting it in one way or another, whether on product level or governance or social activity or whatever. It needs to be the new direction that we all follow eventually, whether it takes a year or 7 years, but it will be there. And it's not going anywhere due to the vast impact that we can already see and feel. We are adapting a knowledge-based approach to this sustainability, and we are really big on it, whether on our product or project level or otherwise. We are very active in all fields related to this specific topic, and pioneering it from our standpoint in all aspects of our operation.
Perfect. Abdallah?
A small thing, just to clarify what Yasser said, because Yasser actually said something that's very realistic. But to clarify, it's like he said, it's a long journey. Sustainability is a long journey. It's going to take a lot of time. We need to start, because actually to be 100% sustainable is we're talking science fiction. We're talking switching from concrete to, because again, you have to go to the roots of the problem, and the raw materials that you're using, are they carbon neutral or not, and all that stuff. And so it's a long journey. Again, start by water, waste management, and energy efficiency, glazing, and all the specs of all that, the building materials itself and how they help you with the efficiency of the energy. I mean, Apple, again, the gold standard of maybe the world, corporate world, not corporate America only. They've set a goal, a very aggressive goal, some 5 years ago, for all the facilities to be carbon neutral, and they achieved it actually. And now they've set an even crazier goal, that their products all be made from recycled materials. So very soon, the iPhone in your hand or the laptop will be made from recycled materials. You'll be very proud of it. It's not like it sounds like it's going to be a second-degree product or something. So we have to set the goals and look how to achieve them. It's definitely going to take some time. It's not an easy homework at all, as I told you, whether the economic or the environmental or the social aspect of it. Maybe the social aspect, that's why I like to talk about, maybe easier to achieve, because this one doesn't entitled changing the technology or changing the material that you're using. It's just product mix and how you introduce it to the market.
I think what's more important than setting the goals is setting the mindset. We have to set the mindset. And I think us as an industry, we have to be always aware of what's really going on in the countries and in the world, because it's coming. And we have to, as you said, we have to start taking steps forward, as you said, Gasser. If we can't do 10 steps, we can do 1, 2, or 3. But in the end of the day, we would have to do all these steps, and it's time to educate ourselves as a market and what this really means. Gentlemen, thank you so much for a dynamic discussion on the dynamics of real estate in North Africa. I really appreciate it, and I really enjoyed it, and I learned so much from your expertise in the
real estate. Buy
real estate, exactly. So thank you very much, and would you please join me to thank our panelists, ladies and gentlemen.